ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates with a little bit of a twist here, because I'm going to start off today's stream with this. Kenny Pickett. He is back in the AFC North. He has just been traded to the Cleveland Browns for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 5th-round draft pick. So, the Eagles have chosen Tanner McKee as their backup with DTR behind Jalen Hurts. And to all those Cleveland Browns fans who laughed at us, who mocked us for Kenny Pickett being our starting quarterback for the 2 previous years to last year, have fun with Kenny Pickett as your QB1. I'm sure he'll be an upgrade in some fashion over Deshaun Watson, but you're about to get ready. You better get ready for the full Kenny Pickett experience. What? I'm sorry. I'm speechless. I just can't get over now the thought. Think of this. It is a nice, cold winter afternoon in the city of Pittsburgh. And the Cleveland Browns, led by Kenny Pickett, I should say it's the 4-8 Cleveland Browns, led by Kenny Pickett, going into Acrisure Stadium. It's the 4th quarter. Renegade is blaring. And Kenny Pickett throws an interception to Minka Fitzpatrick. It is one of the biggest surprises of today's opening of free agency. Today, the legal tampering period beginning, and we have quite a lot of deals and speculations and thoughts to go around. Let's start here. First off, as I mocked the Browns for getting Kenny Pickett, we currently do not know the Steelers' starting quarterback, and it starts here. Justin Fields signed a 2-year, $40 million contract with the New York Jets. That is obviously a number that, some, including myself, think the Steelers maybe should have gone up to sign Fields. Fields is by far the top quarterback option in this free agency cycle. And, over the past handful of years in the NFL, it's been tougher and tougher for, solid quarterbacks to even reach free agency. So he gets a fresh start in New Jersey with Aaron Glenn. He's over in Dubai partying up with, Micah Parsons and whoever else is over there right now. Justin Fields is. And now the Steelers are down now to 2 options. Also, another Steelers quarterback option, Sam Darnold. He actually got signed by the Seattle Seahawks. I believe that is a 3-year, around $100 million deal. That deal came down about an hour or so before Justin Fields' deal was announced. So now, sadly, we are down to the reality of one of Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, most likely being the Steelers quarterback in the year 2025. And there are 11 of you in here right now, please by all means leave a comment in the comment section, subscribe to the channel. Try to talk me in one favor or the other in either of these quarterbacks, because if you re-sign Russell Wilson, you are then committed to running it back with pretty much the same offense plus the addition of DK Metcalf. That's a big reason why I think the door is still open for Russ to return. It is the fact that they brought in his former Seahawks teammate in Metcalf. Metcalf got a big 5-year, $150 million contract extension, as all of you probably know by now. So I mean, Russ, maybe he comes back on a discount. That would help the Steelers in their cap situation to add more players. I believe the Steelers now have $46 million around that range left in cap space, and teams are spending like crazy today. We'll get to more of the deals here in a minute. But if Wilson sees Metcalf now, I think a big plus of him returning, off the field is that Wilson has already made his money in his career, and he's got a superstar singer wife in Ciara who's also making big bank at home. If Russell says, hey, I want to win, my best option is here in Pittsburgh with George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth and DK Metcalf and Jalen Warren, who the Steelers tendered and brought back today. Maybe I should take a little bit of a pay cut here to come back to a city that I love, to a team that I love, and let's try to win one more Super Bowl to get Cam Hayward to a Super Bowl, to get TJ Watt a freaking playoff win. Like, even at that point, that is absolutely ridiculous. And then on the Aaron Rodgers side of things, I see people on Twitter, they really want Rodgers. They think he's still got a lot left in the tank. And one thing that has me in a better mindset of the possibility of Rodgers being the Steelers quarterback is Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football posting on X today. He said, you guys are the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have an elite head coach in Mike Tomlin who is going to, no matter who the quarterback is, have a 9-8 season at least, and most likely make the playoffs. Now, when you reach the playoffs, who would you rather have? A Russell Wilson, who we just saw choke away the last 5 games of the season and be horrendous for a good portion of that? Would you rather see Russell Wilson leading the Steelers in a playoff game or a 4-time Super Bowl MVP in Aaron Rodgers? Now, I think in that scenario, you'd take Rodgers easily, but just watching him in New York the past couple years, you got to wonder how much tread is actually left on that tire. I don't think there's a whole lot, and I think if the Steelers were to bring in Aaron Rodgers, you'd be looking at a very high-risk, low-reward turnout there. Maybe Rodgers wins you a playoff game, but then you're still stuck in the same situation that you are this year. You're going to, instead of picking 21st overall, you pick, 25th, 26th? And then you still go into next season without a quarterback locked up long-term, because I don't see any way if you bring in Russ or Rodgers that contract is beyond 2 years. There is just absolutely no way. If it were me, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Would you consider Daniel Jones? I mean, seriously, think about it. He's a mobile quarterback. You know how I've been saying that Justin Fields is like a Timu, Lamar Jackson, or Jalen Hurts. Well, Daniel Jones is like a Timu, Justin Fields, to where he's going to use his legs. He's still got some good legs on him. He'll occasionally make a, good pass or two. But, I mean, if he could imitate Ryan Tannehill in this Arthur Smith offense from a couple of years ago, Steelers go out, they get a legit back in to replace Najee Harris, who I think he's already said his goodbyes to the Steelers. If honestly speaking, I'd be shocked if he is not a Las Vegas Raider within, the next couple of days. So if Daniel Jones can play the role of Ryan Tannehill, you get a legit running back in the draft. I don't care if you draft one high or in the middle rounds at this point, because that draft class is loaded. Same with defensive tackle. Maybe you, have Daniel Jones play Tannehill, get a couple good running backs. You got pretty much 2 A.J. Browns now on the team with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So, wrapping up the quarterback situation here, I pretty much think it's guaranteed it's going to be Rodgers at this point. I think he's just, carrying this process out. Anytime you see a video of Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, they are pretty much flirting with each other. We all know about, I believe it was when Rodgers was with the Packers. He had a close incomplete pass and he looked over at the sideline at Mike Tomlin, gave him a point. Tomlin gave him a point and a wink back, something like that. So I guess get ready for probably one of the most entertaining uh entertaining locker rooms in Steelers franchise history. You got two guys who you don't know if they're going to make an insane catch or, punch somebody's face in Metcalf and Pickens, and throwing to them is Mr. Ayahuasca himself, Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see how that goes. Got a comment here in the chat. George Rogers here. No, not Daniel Jones. I mean, this is where we are. When you don't give Justin Fields $40 million and, you probably make a lowball offer to Sam Darnold, there goes the pretty much only two respectable options on the market right now. I mean, my mind is telling me it's going to be Rodgers, but, my heart would maybe want to see, and I bet you a lot of Steelers fans are going to disagree with me, maybe you bring back Russell Wilson. I mean, looking at the metrics, Russ technically still had a better year than Rodgers, even if it was just by a little bit. And you already have that connection with George Pickens and DK Metcalf that you hopefully think that Russ can, turn back the clock a couple years again and play like the Russ who came in relief of Justin Fields against the New York Jets and the Giants, and not the Russ that we saw the last 5 games of the year where he was taking a bunch of sacks, had a bad pick 6 against the Ravens, and so on and so forth. But that's just the reality we live in right now. Kenny Pickett's back in the AFC North. Don't know, that's going to be laughable. We can laugh at the Browns, but we aren't too far off from a bad quarterback situation just like them. So moving on here, just breaking down some of the news today regarding the Steelers in free agency. So we obviously know Justin Fields went to the Jets. Sam Darnold, who is on the Steelers' radar, he went to the Seattle Seahawks. DJ Reed, corner for the New York Jets, signed a 3-year, $48 million deal with the Detroit Lions. That's a good pickup for Detroit, and I would have had DJ Reed at the top of my acquisitions list for the Steelers. We also saw the Steelers technically, they have signed Darius Slay, but I'm not going to, pop up a banner for that here yet. Darius Slay reportedly does have a agreement in place with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think he hasn't officially been released by the Philadelphia Eagles yet. So that move is still pending to be finalized. Just waiting on to get more news on that. We know it's a 1-year deal, I think is what Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said. So a 1-year deal for Darius Slay, 35 years old, didn't have a interception last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, but did have 13 pass defenses. Basically got pushed out, him and James Bradbury, by 2 young stud corners in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So you're hoping that Darius Slay coming to Pittsburgh, that he is going to be the next Joe Hayden for this franchise, a veteran quarterback, a veteran corner who came in, sturdied up the secondary a little bit until the Steelers are able to find that next guy, whether that be Joey Porter Jr., having a bounce back season after a sophomore slump, or whether it be someone else the Steelers trade for or develop or draft in April or 2026. Looking at some other deals here, not really related to the Steelers, but a big one, a blockbuster trade. The Houston Texans traded 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunzel to the Washington Commanders. So the Commanders, who the Steelers beat in the regular season, but then watched go to the NFC Championship. He now goes to the Washington Commanders. The Commanders get stronger. They're having a good offseason so far. Steelers quarterback. This one's pretty fresh. Steelers quarterback, Josh Dobbs, a former Steelers quarterback, I should say, a 2-year deal with the New England Patriots. That could put Joe Milton on the trading block. And I bet you, just like pretty much every living, breathing quarterback with a pulse, the Steelers would be quite interested in Joe Milton. I mean, that's just really funny to say right now. Joe Milton possibly being the Steelers quarterback. Corner Nate Hobbs, who the Steelers did have legitimate interest in because the Steelers secondary coach Gerald Alexander recently hired this offseason. Last year was the Las Vegas Raiders safeties coach. So there was legitimate interest in Nate Hobbs, but unfortunately he goes elsewhere as well. A 4-year, $48 million deal with the Green Bay Packers. Last year, Pittsburgh Steeler, Dante Jackson, he is going from cold and snowy Pittsburgh to bright and sunny Los Angeles, California with the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe that is a 2-year deal, $13 million contract for him. He had a decent, but I think many believe overrated season with the Steelers, did Dante Jackson. So, you know what? Happy for him. Hope he kills it out in LA and continues the good work that he showed here in Pittsburgh. Really showed you, what a guy can do once he gets out of a bottom feeder in the NFL like the Carolina Panthers. Looking else here, some other Steelers news. Like I said, they retained Jaylen Warren. It was the second round tender that they gave Warren, so that comes out to a little under $5.5 million for number 30 to stay in the backfield. The Steelers also released defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. That is one of a handful of easy cuts that the Steelers made this offseason. I believe they cut Cordero Patterson, they cut Preston Smith, and now Larry Ogunjobi gets cut as well. That saves the Steelers $7 million in cap space. And also the Steelers re-signed backup center Ryan McCullum. Pretty solid placeholder if you need him to fill in for a game or half a game, a couple of drives whenever you need him to step in. As I mentioned here, Steelers signing Darius Slay to a 1-year contract. Terrell Austin, Steelers defensive coordinator, was Slay's coach in Detroit for about 4 years, I believe. And another guy, Steeler, who I think a lot of people were very hard on, is Dan Moore Jr., left tackle for the Steelers. Rare in this NFL, in this day and age, that you see a 4th-round draft pick come into the league, start immediately, and play every single game for 4 years. That is exactly what Dan Moore Jr. did. Now, was he very hit or miss, putting it lightly? Absolutely. You would see him one game completely and totally shut down Myles Garrett, who just got paid as the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL yesterday. And then other nights you would see him, look like he shouldn't even be playing in the XFL, let alone the NFL. So happy for Dan Moore Jr. He's going down to Tennessee. He's going to be their left tackle 4 years. I believe $82 million. Just tells you how much inflated the free agency market is. Good for him. And another former Steeler and a fan favorite, linebacker Robert Spillane, he is back closer to Pittsburgh, up in New England now. 3-year deal, $37.5 million, with a little over 20 of that guaranteed for Bob Spillane. Good for him. And then, of course, you got the DK Metcalf news. Pretty much all the Steelers news I have bookmarked here. Some of the other big deals of free agency that aren't really related to the Steelers. Laramie Tunzel, of course, going to the Washington Commanders. Talanoa Hufanga is going to the Denver Broncos on, I believe, was a 3-year deal earlier today. Chris Godwin, a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was on the Steelers list had they not acquired Metcalf last night. He doesn't even hit the free agent market. He re-signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. More rumors here that Russell Wilson is getting some interest from the aforementioned Tennessee Titans. Malcolm Kuntz returns to the Las Vegas Raiders. The New York Jets, I believe the New York Jets signed Ravens corner Brandon Stevens to a 3-year deal. That is their DJ Reed replacement. The Minnesota Vikings pass rusher Patrick Jones, he now lands with the Carolina Panthers. Of course, those of you who are around the Pittsburgh area, of course, you're familiar with Patrick Jones and all he has done at the University of Pittsburgh. Trayvon Moehrig, a replacement for Trayvon Moehrig, I should say. Jeremy Chin goes to the Raiders. Packers sign guard Aaron Banks. Chiefs sign tackle Jalen Moore from the San Francisco 49ers. Grady Jarrett going to the Chicago Bears on a 3-year deal. Just a big day all around for the Chicago Bears. They got Grady Jarrett. They signed center Drew Dahlman from the Atlanta Falcons to a massive payday. I believe they also signed Ode Igbo from the Colts to their defensive line, so they're building in the trenches. Also, the New England Patriots had themselves a big day, bringing in corner Carlton Davis, bringing in defensive tackle Milton Williams. They still need to add a wide receiver, however, and Josh Sweat, who had a breakout game in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I believe he had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. He gets a nice payday in Arizona, 4 years, little over $76 million. Colts add safety Cam Bynum. Of course, everybody knows him as the celebration coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings from last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars add Jordan Lewis from the Cowboys. And that will pretty much do it for all the big moves today that I have not mentioned already. So, yeah, just an absolute crazy opening day of free agency. And unfortunately, a bad day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As much as you want to celebrate and keep up the optimism and energy from acquiring DK Metcalf last night, just now being limited to Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers being your quarterback in 2025, 2 guys who are past their prime, it's not looking good. And honestly, if those are your only 2 options, you could be looking at the Steelers maybe finally under Mike Tomlin flaming out and getting a high draft pick. And wouldn't it be something? I personally would love it if the Steelers in their own city in 2026 would draft their next franchise quarterback, whether it be, Arch Manning, Drew Aller, or any of the other quarterbacks available in that draft class. Looking at some of the comments here. Steelers quarterback going to be Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones. Who the hell knows at this point? Just learning again, Uncle Rico is ready to sign for ribeye steak for life. How does Uncle Rico, does he like Primanti Brothers? Because we can, give him his own sandwich, just like, they gave Russell Wilson the Dangerous sandwich. Maybe we can give Uncle Rico his own sandwich, give him a free Primanti's card for life. He can come in here. Hell, you saw Ben Roethlisberger last night on social media saying DK Metcalf, George Pickens. I might got a couple of throws left in me, Coach Tomlin. I mean, at this point, save us. 7. Like, come on. You can't be any worse right now than Rodgers or Wilson. Hell, I'll take Chris Boswell. We saw him post on his Instagram story, I got this. Screw it. DK or GP are down there somewhere. And also, how about this, ladies and gentlemen? Let me make a quick banner for this. Got more breaking news in the NFL. This could, be related to the Steelers if you really think about it and you think that they, should still add another wide receiver besides DK Metcalf. The Los Angeles Rams, after a couple of weeks now of officially shopping Cooper Kupp, he has been released. That is per Adam Schefter right here. A trade could still materialize, but, I don't think Cooper Kupp is really on the Steelers' radar anymore, so that doesn't really affect the Steelers anymore. It would suck, though. I think a team that could, very much be interested in Cooper Kupp, just thinking of AFC opponents here, I'm not sure about the situation going on with, Xavier Worthy in Kansas City right now. He could sign a, fairly respectable contract and then go and catch, 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards with the Chiefs. Ravens, they're always a team that could use another wide receiver. So in the end, I mean, I said this, I was going to make a video earlier today, but I'm just going to do this live stream instead. I said DK Metcalf was the best, option for the Steelers. At that point, you forget Christian Kirk, forget Chris Godwin, forget Devontae Adams, forget Cooper Kupp, and most of all, forget Brandon Ayuk, because DK Metcalf was built for AFC North football more than Kupp, Adams, all those guys I just mentioned. So, I mean, the only thing that could damper my mood seeing that headline right there would be if Kupp were to sign with one of these AFC teams. I could also see him, I'm not sure where he would fit in there, but I have a feeling I get Cole Beasley vibes if he were to go to the Buffalo Bills. That would be pretty crazy. Another thing I'm seeing here, possibly the Steelers' offer to Justin Fields. Again, take this with some skepticism to its validity, I should say. But apparently the Steelers offer Fields a 2-year deal, just like the Jets, but $30 million with $20 million guaranteed. And of course, the Jets upped both of those numbers by 10, paying Fields $40 million and $30 guaranteed. So 2 years, $30 million. Apparently the Steelers, that's as high as they were going to go. You knew Fields was going to test the market. The Steelers said that they wanted to lock up a quarterback by today. Omar Khan said that at the Combine. And then he said it throughout the week. Steelers wanted to add a quarterback to have in there before free agency began. And here we are left with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers while Fields tested the market, got the highest offer that he thought he was going to take, and now he's a New York Jet. Looking more in the comments here. BTG, welcome back, brother. Y'all finna trade up for a quarterback. I'm mad. I hate we got Sam Darnold. Seattle Seahawks fan. I used to have a Seattle Seahawks fan next door. I wish he were still around here. I would have loved to hear him yelling inside his house about Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers. But I mean, hey, I'd rather have Sam Darnold right now than, Russell Wilson, who's not going to use the middle of the field, and Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be a statue behind an at best work in progress offensive line behind, second and third year guys who are very inexperienced. Jeff here, worthy charges are dropped. Okay, that's good to hear. Plus, Kansas City re-signed Hollywood Brown already. Listen, I don't care if they re-signed Hollywood Brown. I don't care if they have Brown, Rashee Rice, freaking Worthy, if they re-sign DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care. We saw Hopkins, that they don't need any excuse not to sign a wide receiver. They are absolutely crazy. Those people in Kansas City, they are going to give Patrick Mahomes any and all opportunities to get any weapon that they want. Darnold went to the Seahawks, just learning. Moore wasn't worth that price. Yeah, Dan Moore was guaranteed to be gone as soon as the season ended. I give Dan Moore kudos and credit, all of that in the world to him. When you are a fourth round pick, like I said, and you start every single game throughout your career up to this point, you earn yourself to get a payday like that. And with the Steelers investing first round picks the past 2 years into Broderick Jones from Georgia, who is finally going to play at his natural position at left tackle, and Troy Fautanu out of Washington last year, who's going to be your right tackle, even though he missed most of last year with an injury. I wish Dan Moore, just like Dante Jackson, I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he kills it and, discovers a new part to his game in Tennessee. 91 of you watching right now. This is, I think, maybe my largest audience for a stream ever. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to like, comment, and share this stream. Keep commenting in this chat like Dalton here. Let's go get Shadur. Oh my God. I'm going to say no for now, but if Shadur is falling like a bunch of these analysts are predicting, like day by day, the more and more mock drafts I see, Shadur went from possibly being talked about, going 1 to the Titans, going 3 to the Giants, to now he's falling back to the Raiders at number 6, but they just traded for Geno Smith, to the Jets at number 7, but they just signed Justin Fields. So the more and more I see it, the more and more quarterbacks that signed. Sam Darnold, going to the Seahawks, that's another team that, is around the same area as the Steelers picking quarterback-wise. Shadur Sanders, it's a weak quarterback draft class, and you're probably repeating the sins of 3 years ago when you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round of a weak quarterback class. But I mean, Shadur Sanders over Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson might not be the worst idea. Neither would Cam Ward if he were to somehow fall down. I see a lot of people mocking Jackson Dart to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not sure about spending a first round pick on him. You'd probably need to trade back into the second, but that could be, just as good, if not a better option than Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold. Looking here, Tristan in the chat, keep Russ as quarterback 1. I'm reaching 50-50. Like, they both suck right now as options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, I mean, I'm 50-50. I really want, in my heart of hearts, I really wish that if Russ does re-sign, he's like, oh my goodness, you know what I'm so great at? You know what my best weapon is? moonballs down the sideline. You know who I got on this side? 6'4", 235-pound DK Metcalf. You know who I got on the other side? 6'3", 200-pound George Pickens. I'm going to be tossing, slinging the ball down the sidelines. The middle of the field's going to be non-existent, but I'm going to be, I don't care whether it's in single or double or triple coverage, I'm going to trust these two behemoths and physical specimens to go get the ball. So, I'd probably be okay with Russ coming back if that's what they're going to do. And if he can, be a even, half of a quarterback of that he once was when he was playing with Metcalf. And, same goes for Rodgers. If Rodgers can be half of his 4-time MVP self, I think that, he'd have the ability to launch balls. We know he's got a good deep ball as well, and he's also a good accurate passer. The more and more on stream I talk myself into these guys possibly being good in the Steelers offense, but it's recency bias. You look at Wilson in the last 4 games of the season. You look at Aaron Rodgers in all of his tenure with the New York Jets. It is very mixed feelings right now throughout Steelers Nation. 100 of you in here. I think I saw 105. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to the channel. Let me check the subscriber count right here. I believe earlier today we were at, I think, around 285. Now we're up to 292. Thank you very, very much for joining here this evening as we just talk about NFL free agency. I'm probably going to get, into some of the other Pittsburgh sports teams, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the hockey team. They just had a good trade deadline as sellers. Pittsburgh Pirates, who are currently on the TV to my right here, spring training, but they're losing 3-0 to the Baltimore Orioles right now. Let's look at more comments here in the meantime before I move on to my next segment. Jeff Andlinger, Pickens and DK won't mix well. Should trade Pickens and grab Cooper. I mean, take it for what you will. George Pickens, I think he's happy that DK is here. As a matter of fact, I think he posted to his Instagram story him in his Georgia number 1 jersey. Looks like he is willing to give up number 14 to Metcalf should he be able to get his old college number back. And also, if you want to believe that George Pickens has a burner account, Michael Brewerly, I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. If you believe that it's really him, he last night posting a bunch of smiley face emojis. So at this point, even if it's just for a year and if he can behave himself and then you let him walk, because I think if you give him money, he might turn back into the George Pickens that we all know, who is late to games, is a distraction on and off the field. If you can get one solid year of George Pickens and DK Metcalf together, you got arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league. I put Metcalf and GP when they're both at their very best. I put him up against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I'd put him up against now Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams out in LA. Not quite sure I'd put him up against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but if T. Higgins is having, going to be like barely interested in playing this year because the Bengals keep on franchise tagging him, then maybe you can put those two up against them. But we'll see. I mean, DK and Pickens won't mix well. You got 2 alphas, 2 guys who could like turn into the Dudley Boys from WWE and start beating up people downfield. I mean, high risk, high reward there, and I think the Steelers should just let it ride. Tristan Perkins here, dumb to trade GP. Unless you're getting a second-round pick that you lost trading for Metcalf, then I think you absolutely keep GP, or if for some reason some team were to lose their minds and trade their quarterback, like, I don't know, this is just me spitballing here. What if the Arizona Cardinals move on from Kyler Murray? What if you see, this is how crazy I'm getting with this. What if Brock Purdy? What if they want to go a different direction in San Francisco? Trying to think of more. What if Trevor Lawrence actually, we saw that fake rumor from a couple of weeks ago. What if Trevor Lawrence would want to come to Pittsburgh? Who knows? That's just me completely spitballing, and it's completely unrealistic. But nonetheless, dumb to trade GP. Let's play with knives. Just subbed. Good to be with Yins here. Absolutely welcome to the channel. Glad to have you here too. Shadur is way better than Kenny. I'll tell you for real. I think, just looking at his first year in the leagues, Kenny Pickett, he went from getting thrown into the fire to becoming a backup for pretty much the rest of his career in with the Eagles, and now he's in quarterback hell, Cleveland Browns. You just got to wonder how soon till Pickett is the new nameplate on the back of that dude who has the Browns jersey that has like 100 names on it of all the Browns quarterbacks over the years, and it should be fun. You best believe that the team is going to be motivated if Kenny Pickett is starting by the time the Steelers play the Browns in the regular season, assuming Deshaun Watson isn't back and ready to go. But I mean, at this point, I am very much more open to the option that if you do or don't sign Russ or Rodgers, even if you do sign one of them, I'm very much more open now to the idea of taking a quarterback in this draft. If you can get Shadur Sanders, if he falls, Jackson Dart, even if you have Rodgers or Wilson and you have a guy sit behind a year, maybe you can develop Jalen Milroe into something. Despite, his disappointing combine performance, maybe you look at Will Howard. Tyler Shuck is a quarterback who lots of analysts and experts have rising up draft boards quickly out of Louisville. So we'll see. Fluid situation. Maybe something gets done tonight with the Steelers quarterback situation. Maybe tomorrow. Who the heck knows? Jeff in the comments again. GP will never re-sign to Steelers after next season. So either get something for him now or lose him. No way they franchise tag him. And there's no way that Pickens will play under the franchise tag. I said that one of two things was going to happen with this DK Metcalf trade and sign. Either Pickens can be a good teammate and have a ball out year where he most likely gets paid by another team next year. And real quick before I go any further, saying that the GP will never re-sign to the Steelers, same thing happened with Myles Garrett. Garrett just wanted to go win a Super Bowl. He requested a trade. He said, I want to go elsewhere to win a Super Bowl. People up in Detroit, eyes were lighting up of the possibility of Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson coming off of opposing edges. But one thing is, money talks. And in the NFL, if you're going to be successful, money talks. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe if they would have re-signed Justin Fields, they would have had probably the closest thing to mimicking the Philadelphia Eagles offense. But in this day in the NFL, if you are going to compete for a Super Bowl, more than likely, you need to have two elite level receiving threats. Now, DK Metcalf is definitely one of those. George Pickens has the tools to be one of those. I wouldn't put Pat Freiermuth as an elite receiving threat quite yet. He still needs to show me more. Maybe he does this year, second year in a tight end friendly Arthur Smith offense. But, I can't rule out the Steelers re-signing GP just yet. They just signed DK Metcalf to the largest contract in franchise history. And, we're just talking about Shadur Sanders or a rookie quarterback possibly being the Steelers quarterback come this time, a month and a half and now in April. You got a rookie quarterback under contract. You can more than enough pay for GP, and then you got your AJ Brown, Devontae Smith to have for the rookie quarterback. Trade Pickens and get picks here from Dalton in the chat. Bring out the wheelchairs. We're going to need it with either of those two quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is going to have some sort of ayahuasca tea, whatever the hell in his Gatorade bottle on the sideline. Like, do you all remember? I believe this was a couple of years ago when Tom Brady was still in Tampa, and you had this kid who was, this was like after the game or pre-game. You had this kid on the Buccaneer sideline, and he took a sip of, or like a squirt of Tom Brady's drink on the sideline, and he was like, "What was that?" I have a feeling like that was exactly what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. He's going to go over, have some sort of ayahuasca laden drink with some other sort of bioceuticals, whatever the hell he drinks on the day-to-day or recreationally. But I mean, right now we are at a complete and total what's the word I'm looking for here? We're at a complete and total opening here looking at the Steelers quarterback situation. You could very well have, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers and soon to be in a couple years 40-year-old Russell Wilson, or you could have, Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders in the draft. Shedeur can play behind a bad line because he never had a run game with those wide receivers. That offense can be like Washington last year. I mean, mobility was one trait in a quarterback that Mike Tomlin said he wanted to have on his team. And he said that in his season-ending press conference, kind of contradict what owner Art Rooney II said, because Rooney said he wanted a quarterback who can stay in the pocket and dissect and read the defense. So you're not going to get a mobile quarterback with either Wilson or Rodgers. If you do bring in Shedeur Sanders, then I could probably, be talked into that, because he's probably going to be needing to run for his life from time to time. You're looking at, from left to right here, you're looking at Broderick Jones finally, which will be his third year into the league. You're going to finally see him at his natural position at left tackle. You don't know how that's going to play out. You're looking at him that if this year goes bad for him, you're calling him a bust. You got a left guard, Isaac Seumalo, been there, done that guy, who I think had a bit of a down year, but I'd expect him to bounce back. You got a second-year center in Zach Frazier, who by all means looks, every single bit of possibly being a Steelers franchise center for the next 10 years. But, it's an unpredictable league. You don't know if he's going to have a step back. You have a fifth-round second-year guy, Mason McCormick, who, again, like Zach Frazier, looks the part. You just look up a picture of this dude. He looks like he's going to freaking, like, he goes out in the field and tackles cattle for fun. And, as a fifth-round pick, you don't know how he's going to develop either. And then at right tackle, you got your first-round pick from last year, Troy Fautanu, coming off a knee injury. So you never know how that line is going to gel together and how each of them individually is going to perform. You're looking at, you have to get each and every one of those guys at their very best to, I think have Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers be at their best. So maybe Shedeur Sanders is a guy that, you need to have a mobile guy who can move. And that brings me back to, if you're not going to sign Rodgers or Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin, if you do want a mobile quarterback, then it sucks, but Daniel Jones would be your best option then. Dalton again. Sanders can throw and is a pro learning from Brady, a year or a couple games behind Wilson, and trade Pickens for some picks to fix the O-line. Pickens and DK may clash for the ball late year issues. Absolutely. I think the late year issues are very, very much going to happen if Pickens does stay. Trade Pickens for some picks to fix the O-line. I think the Steelers are done investing in the O-line. Like I said, you invested a first-round pick in Broderick Jones 2 years ago, and last year you invested a first, a second, and a fifth-round pick in Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, and Mason McCormick. The only way I see the Steelers taking an offensive lineman would maybe be in the middle rounds, and you get a half decent project guard for when Isaac Seumalo hits free agency next year. So we'll see how that goes if the Steelers do end up going offensive line in the draft here in April. Just learning again in the chat here, get Cup in the slot. I'd be fine with Cup in the slot, but you got to remember that, one, you also have Roman Wilson. He was a third-round pick last year out of Michigan. He missed most of the year, started the year in training camp, actually, with an ankle injury, missed most of the year, then had a struggle later in the year to, I think, get the playbook memorized and to get a helmet on game day. So you got Russell Wilson. You can also put Calvin Austin in the slot. Those are two internal options there. Calvin Austin, I think, is a very low-end wide receiver 3 and a high-end wide receiver 4. Also, my very favorite, besides defensive line, because you got Derek Harmon, Kenneth Grant, all those guys, my top prospect in this draft, if the Steelers were fully committed to making this offense as best as it could be for 2025, I would love for them to triple down and put in the slot Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. That would be, he's my favorite wide receiver prospect in the draft. No offense to Tetaroa McMillan and Luther Burden and Matthew Golden and all that, but Emeka Egbuka, not only does he have the production to back up his first round grade, he is the exact opposite mentally of DK Metcalf and George Pickens. You're going to hear no issues off the field with effort, with professionalism in any way from Emeka Egbuka. So if you're really looking to add another wide receiver high in the draft, or another wide receiver in general, Emeka Egbuka would be my guy. Shedeur got thrown into the fire when he was born. The hardest thing to do is to be an all-time great as a dad, and you play the same sport as him. Yeah, I mean, playing different position than his dad, but he definitely, since he was born, he's been in those NFL locker rooms. He's been around players to see what it's like to be a professional, how you got to take care of your body, the type of mindset you have to have, how you attack practice, how you prepare yourself for games. He's definitely seen all that. It's in his blood to be a professional football player. Now it's just a matter of seeing, how he can play in the NFL, and especially you're going to hear the this knock on him, how he's going to be under a different coach other than his dad. I'd get Joe Milton from the Pats or Milroe if you can get who y'all want. I mean, Milroe intrigues me, but I mean, the hand issue, if you want to, go back down the Kenny Pickett road, small hand quarterback in a weak quarterback draft class, the joke's right there. Not sure how high his ceiling is going to be as a NFL quarterback either. Joe Milton, if you can get him for a late round draft pick swap, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Also, I heard Arthur Smith interviewed for the UNC job. He did, but now Belichick is the coach there. I did see that Smith, a few months ago, did interview for the UNC job, but then he came out in the media and said that he loves it in Pittsburgh. He doesn't want to go anywhere. So kind of like how Steelers, they never fire coaches or coordinators. You're going to see Arthur Smith here for the entirety of his contract that he signed. Bro, we just signed our 18th linebacker. All right, let me see who he signed. Let's go here. Malik Harrison. Oh, yeah, Malik Harrison from the Ravens. So Malik Harrison, 2-year deal per Tom Pelissero. That shuts the door on a Landon Roberts, and damn, I wanted a Landon Roberts back. And Landon Roberts is just an absolute freaking road grader, and he can be a running back's worst nightmare. So And $10 million? 2 years? What are we doing? You have Patrick Queen. You have Peyton Wilson, who looks like he's going to be serviceable in the NFL. Cole Holcomb's on his way back. Not sure how much you want to trust him after his knee injury, but why are we spending $10 million on a linebacker? I mean, you could have gotten Landon Roberts back for a bargain. I do not understand that whatsoever. I hope Malik Harrison kills it, and you know he could be just as good, if not better, than Landon Roberts. But I don't get that move at all. Landon Roberts said he wanted to come back. He looked like he still had a lot of good ball left in him. Yeah, I don't get that. I do not get that. The DK on paper looks great though. Yeah, Alex, all good here. I don't know. Wanted Rivets back too. I wanted Roberts back too. Now watch. Watch here. We're gonna get Malik Harrison. I believe he's a former Raven. Correct me if I'm wrong. Watch. Roberts is now gonna take this as spite and go to Baltimore. And it's gonna be absolutely painstaking because he knows that offensive line and he's going to rock Jaylen Warren for like a fumble or something. You could have gotten Roberts back on the cheap. That sucks. Looking else here. So yeah, Malik Harrison is a Steeler. You know what I wonder also? And I think a guy who is guaranteed to be a Steeler come the draft, probably if he's like a 6th or 7th round pick, Carson Bruner, Mark Bruner, former Steelers tight end, his son, who's a linebacker in the draft. I think you could see the Steelers. They love their family ties. You know, you got Connor Hayward and Cam Hayward. You got Joey Porter Jr., his dad Joey Sr., and now you got another guy who is son of a former Steeler and Carson Bruner, linebacker from Washington. I think he could be a late round pick for the Steelers, and you stick him on special teams for most of the year. Looking more here, scrolling any other news on Twitter. John Parado, the Steelers are having a Pirates-like handling of their quarterback situation in recent years. I mean, stop him when he's lying. Tershawn Wharton, defensive tackle, who's really coming to his own for the Chiefs. He's going to the Panthers. So the Panthers pivot to Wharton after failing to get Milton Williams earlier in the day. So, all right, I think I'm going to pivot away from some Steelers talk here. Maybe we'll come back to it later in the stream. But real quick, wanted to hit on the other two Steelers team to the other two Pittsburgh sports teams. Let's talk real quick about, this is my first time since Friday being able to talk about this. Let's talk real quick about the Pittsburgh Penguins and how they did at this trade deadline. So since I last made a video and since I had those handful of trade updates on Friday, the Penguins, I should say, and general manager Kyle Dubas, they made 4 more trades, traded forward Anthony Beauvillier for a 2nd-round pick to the Washington Capitals, traded defenseman Luke Shen to the Winnipeg Jets for a 2nd and a 5th-round pick, or a 4th-round pick, excuse me, traded Cody Glass, forward, and a AHL player to the New Jersey Devils for a 3rd-round pick and 2 AHL players, and then they traded a 5th-round draft pick in 2025 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, Dubas loves his former Maple Leafs in forward Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins. Before I go any further, I give Dubas an A- for what he did in this year's draft. I mean, firstly, he capitalized off a complete and total seller's market, turning players who were either rentals or not a part of the long-term future into decent draft capital. I mean, getting a 2nd-round pick from your division rival for Anthony Beauvillier is absolutely insane to think of. If you include the two trades that the Penguins made Wednesday night, they traded defenseman Vincent Desharnais to the San Jose Sharks, I believe, for a 7th-round pick or a 5th-round pick. Yes, a 5th-round pick in 2028, and then also one that shocked me a little bit, trading forward Michael Bunting, who just got put on IR with appendicitis, and a 4th-round pick to the Nashville Predators for Tommy Novak and the aforementioned Luke Schenn. So looking at all the deals in the past week for the Penguins as a whole, Dubas essentially traded Vincent Desharnais, Michael Bunting, Anthony Beauvillier, Cody Glass, and a 5th-round draft pick into Tommy Novak, who is as good, if not better, than Bunting. Connor Dewar, who will probably be better than Vincent Desharnais, or excuse me, Connor Timmins, who will probably be better than Vincent Desharnais. Connor Dewar, who is going to be a nice 4th-line grinder for this team. 2 second-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 5th-round pick. That is just insane. And Dubas, another example of him playing chess instead of checkers. He basically, if you put Tommy Novak and Michael Bunting on even ground, he basically got Luke Schenn for a 4th-round pick, and then not even 48 hours later, traded Schenn again for a 2nd and a 4th-round pick. So making a 2nd-round pick out of nothing there, that is pretty damn good in my book. And secondly, I think Dubas has officially restocked the farm system and the draft cupboard for the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you want to look at the prospects, you got guys like Ville Koivunen, Rucker McGroarty, Vasily Ponomarev. You're probably going to see at least one of those guys in Pittsburgh before the season ends here with around 16 games left to go. You also got some other guys that I really don't have enough time to name right here. And also, the Pittsburgh Penguins now have a league-high 30 draft picks in over the next 3 years. 18 of those draft picks are in the first 3 rounds. Just an absolutely well job done for a team that, when they were contending, didn't have really many first-round picks, especially in the first 3 rounds. Dubas did phenomenal in trading and restocking that cupboard very, very quickly. And thirdly, Dubas rightfully held on to his biggest trade chip. If there was ever a time to trade this guy, it would have been this year. And it got close, apparently, at the 3 p.m. deadline with the Carolina Hurricanes. But forward Rickard Rakell will remain a Pittsburgh Penguin, and I think will remain a Pittsburgh Penguin until his deal is up here in 2 years. A 35-goal scorer who is on a reasonable contract, I think making $5 million a year. And in today's NHL market, that is a bargain, even if he was, 15 goals less. And he keeps your top player in Sidney Crosby happy, so that was a no-brainer in that decision. Dubas said that he really had no interest in trading Rakell, that defenseman Erik Karlsson, who I'm sure garnered interest this trade deadline and will probably get moved by the Penguins in the offseason. Dubas said that he wasn't going to get carelessly traded. And a guy who everybody thought the Penguins were going to trade at the deadline in defenseman Matt Grzelcyk, he ended up staying in Pittsburgh. He had some interest in teams, but Dubas said that there was not enough there to complete a deal. And Dubas also ended his press conference by stating something very interesting, that the rebuild for the Pittsburgh Penguins is not necessarily reaching an end, but is going to shift into a new phase. His quote here saying, I think we spent the last 12 months almost exactly accruing assets and accruing flexibility in cap space, and now we'll begin to shift to that execution of that. That will be drafting some players. We'll have those assets available for trade. We have cap space available in free agency. We'll shift here from asset collection into continuing to do that, continuing down that path, but also looking how we can use those assets that we've acquired to add to our group and add to our roster. That's what we continue to do. And our goal is, as I've stated here a number of times, to return the team to contention as urgently as possible. So looks like the Penguins going to be somewhat big spenders here in this offseason, whether that be through trades or free agency. Who knows? just saying this. Maybe, Dubas goes and he gets his old buddy. It'd be very, very wild and unrealistic. Maybe he goes, gets his one of his favorite players in Toronto, Mitch Marner. This is what I want to happen so damn bad, and it will never happen. But the Ottawa Senators traded Brady Tkachuk's best friend, Josh Norris, to the Buffalo Sabres. If Tkachuk wants out of Ottawa, I would do unspeakable things to get him on the Pittsburgh Penguins. That would be absolutely insane. You put him on a line with Evgeny Malkin and, Philip Tomasino, who's really developed a nice relationship and chemistry with Malkin. I would be head over heels for that move. And real quick, before I move on, some other moves that the Pens made in the past handful of days. Defenseman Ryan Shea, third pair defenseman, he signs a 1-year extension. And the Pens have also signed a pair of prospects in defenseman Chase Piatilla. He gets a 3-year entry level deal. And also, let me see, I have it here. Defenseman Daniel Latch, he gets a 2-year entry level deal as well. So the Penguins are going to be taking a new route here in the coming off-season towards contending more in 2026. Real quick here, hitting on the Pittsburgh Pirates, just a quick thing on them before I go back to Steelers. Game going on right now. Actually, they made a 3-2 ball game, still trailing by a run. O'Neal Cruz up to bat with 1 out and a runner on first. Be a good time for a cruise missile. Things are still very, very bleak, and that sucks to say for a team with a generational pitcher in Paul Skeens. The Pirates, going into the offseason, they had 2 big holes on their roster. They needed a corner outfielder and a first baseman. They got their outfielder, whether you like the Tommy Pham signing or not, that's up to you. And hopefully Jack Sawinski can have a bounce back year and take over that spot in the outfield. But the Pirates addressed their first base issue by trading for first baseman Spencer Horwitz, original from the Cleveland Guardians, originally from the Toronto Blue Jays. And now that Horwitz is in Pittsburgh, he hasn't been a part of this spring training at all. He had surgery on his right wrist for chronic wrist issues. First off, red flag right there. Great job, Ben Cherington. You trade for a guy with chronic injury issues. You, of all people, should know that with a third baseman who has chronic back issues in Key Brian Hayes. But nonetheless, back to the topic here. With Horwitz now gone, the Pittsburgh Pirates have been throwing, pretty much anybody and everybody on their roster at first base to try to find a placeholder until Horwitz returned. You've seen Adam Frazier, who for some reason everybody's still confused as hell as to why he's back and what his role will be with the team. You're looking at, minor league guys like Billy Cook, maybe Emmanuel Valdez can pop over there. You got guys on minor league contracts like Dark Hall and DJ Stewart. And now apparently, according to Pirates play-by-play broadcaster Greg Brown, he said that on Friday the Pirates held an intra-squad game in which Jack Sawinski, who I just mentioned, and catcher Endy Rodriguez both took reps at first base. I think the most logical choice out of those two would be Rodriguez. You have a surplus at the catching position, and right now, if you can keep Joey Bart and Henry Davis as your 2 catchers, you still would like to have Endy Rodriguez on the main club, and I think you put him at first base. He can, might not be the best defender there, but you know what? His bat is worth more than, what he may lack defensively at first base. And another thing before I get back to the Steelers here, well, technically this is a Steelers topic. This here really sucks to do, especially coming off the passing of Penguins legendary broadcaster Mike Lang from about a week ago. News came out this morning, shocking news. Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman turned radio broadcaster Craig Wolfley. He passed away at the age of 66 this morning, and that just sucks. I'm going to miss hearing his voice, as I'm sure a lot of other Steelers fans will miss hearing his voice on the radio during Steelers games and, training camp and Steelers Nation Radio, Steelers Network Radio, all that. Just absolutely another devastating loss for the Pittsburgh sports broadcasting community. I always loved those guys. Mike Lang, was my favorite. It hit me hard losing him. And, when you think of Pittsburgh sports broadcasting, you think of guys like Bob Prince, Mike Lang, and Myron Cope, back in the days. And then in this current day and age, you still had Mike Lang before he passed away. Over, on the Bucs side of things, you got guys like Greg Brown, Bob Walk. He retired a couple of years ago. You used to think of Kenta Colby and Steve Blass as well, those two retiring a few years ago. But for the Steelers, my generation, growing up listening to Steelers football, you had Tunch Ilkin and Bill Hillgrove. Of course, Bill still kicking strong, not doing Steelers football anymore, but he's still doing Pitt football and basketball for them. But, it sucks now that, we lose another guy like Craig Wolfley. I'm going to say right here into the camera, Wolf, we all miss you. We're going to miss you hearing your voice on the radio for the Steelers. But now we hope that you're at peace. We hope you rest in peace. And we hope that you enjoy reuniting with Tunch up there in the big press box in the sky. We love you. And rest easy there, Wolf. Let's get back to the Steelers here, back to the comments here. Malik Harrison to the ceiling. Good luck to the Pirates, absolutely. And, for people have come out this offseason and started criticizing Art Rooney II, and he's just getting it lightly. Like, Steelers fans, I'm on the big, committee here of we need to get Bob Nutting the hell out of town like yesterday. Like, you should not have a generational pitcher like Paul Skeens, plus other great pitching staffs, other great pitchers on staff like Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, soon to be Bubba Chandler, Andrew Heaney, who you just signed to a free agent deal, Bailey Falter. I can go on and on and on. You as a team with that great of a pitching staff shouldn't be spending this offseason less money than you did the previous season. Like, the window is open now to compete for a World Series and give this city something to cheer for, especially when you have the Penguins going through a rebuild and the Steelers, who now have DK Metcalf, but you don't know what the hell their future looks like, especially at the quarterback position. So it sucks seeing, Bob Nutting not even try to put money into the Pittsburgh Pirates. And let me type up the banner here real quick. Let me type up this question. You guys can answer it in the chat. There we go. All right, I'm going to pop up this banner here in a moment. First off, before I say anything here, I want to congratulate you and your wife, Danny, on having a child. That happened this afternoon. But I got to ask the question now, did the Pittsburgh Steelers wait too long to extend TJ Watt? And let me give you some background context to this. Earlier this week, I believe it was back on Friday, I believed. Or no, when was this? Yes, it was back on Friday. Steelers insider, Steelers correspondent for the Pat McAfee show, Mark Caboli, formerly of The Athletic, went on the Pat McAfee show, and he said that talking with Omar Khan at the Combine and, just getting the general vibe around him, the Steelers sooner or later are going to be extending TJ Watt. But the reason why I ask, did they wait too long to do so, is that now you have Max Crosby, who just the other day signed a 3-year, $106.5 million contract extension. And now you have a division rival in Myles Garrett becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. I believe that was a 4-year deal worth $160 million. So now in the NFL, as I'm sure some of you can come to the conclusion, when you have multiple high-profile elite players at the same position, all be due contracts at around the same time, usually when one of those guys signs the deal, the next person who signs, that's going to be a little bit higher, and so on and so forth. The money's just going to keep on getting more and more. And TJ now, seeing Max Crosby and Myles Garrett get paid this amount of money, I don't think he's going to ask for a new record-setting contract above Garrett, but he's probably going to ask for, a handful, couple million more than what he originally was thinking. In the end, I think he, maybe a little bit above Max Crosby, but plenty enough below Myles Garrett, because Garrett wants the money and the Browns is the Browns. They're not going anywhere. It's best to lose and suck, making a whole bunch of money. But I don't think TJ is that guy. I think TJ is not going to take a pay cut or a discount to come back to the Steelers. But I think he is going to respectfully ask for what he thinks he is worth, which isn't going to break the Steelers' bank and will allow the Steelers to continue pursuing free agents and trades this offseason. So TJ, he's been very vocal in the public about saying that he wants to remain a Steeler. He loves being a Steeler. He wants to win here in Pittsburgh. So I think he's going to get a fair day's wage here when it's all said and done, when he does get paid, and allow the Steelers to continue doing their thing, re-signing players, signing free agents, making trades to build around TJ. So we'll see how that pays out. I don't think it's going to be a real problem for the Steelers, signing TJ after Crosby and Garrett, and maybe even Micah Parsons when it's all said and done. But I just caution the Steelers that when you have guys do contracts in the future, you gotta, step up and be one of the first to get those guys under a contract before other teams inadvertently start driving up your price. All right, so let's take this off here. Let's go back to the comment section actually real quick. TJ doesn't care about money. He wants to win. That's exactly what I'm saying. Just, I caution the Steelers, maybe when it comes time to pay George Pickens, or trying to think of other guys here. Maybe when it comes time to pay Joey Porter Jr., if he pans out as that elite shutdown corner that we all think he can be, if Broderick Jones or Troy Fautanu or Zach Frazier turn into the guys that they have the potential of being. So yeah, we'll see what all goes on. Okay. Been on here for a little under an hour and a half now. 42 of you currently left in here. There was once over 100 of you in here. I want to thank each and every one of you, whether you're new or recurring visitors of my channel and my live streams. I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. It's been a hell of a time talking to you. And if you were on my live stream earlier today, I apologize for the live stream getting cut off. My area had an internet blackout, and it was down for about 2 hours. So had to not only wait for that to come back up, but wait and see how long, if it was going to cut out again. So was on here from about 6 for about an hour and a half almost. We reached 299 subscribers. Let me check. Did we break 300? We broke 300 subscribers. There we go. Thank you very much, each and every one of you who subscribed. You are all very beautiful people. I want to give you a big hug and a kiss through this camera lens right now, but thank to each and every one of you who subscribed to the channel tonight and helped me reach 300 subscribers. I think I'm going to be doing more of these live streams more often than I do the videos, because I just get more attraction and more views from you beautiful people. So with that, I think I'm going to call it a night and go enjoy the rest of this Pittsburgh Pirates game. They're talking to Nick Gonzalez, Pirates second baseman, in the booth right now. Looks like a beautiful night down there in Bradenton, Florida, someplace that is on my bucket list to visit. Very much for sure. But with that, I'm going to call it a night. We'll probably be back on here at some point tomorrow, whether that's, during the day or night, whenever the Steelers make a big move. Hell, who knows? Maybe I'll be back on here later tonight if the Steelers end up signing Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, covering the breaking news. But regardless of when I'm back, I hope that each and every one of you beautiful people who joined me earlier tonight, who are still here in the chat right now, or who will end up watching this live stream at a later date, I hope you join me then. I thank each and every one of you for subscribing. Have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you guys back here next time with some more Pittsburgh sports news. Love y'all. Have a great rest of your night.